Come 2026, a promise made 30 years ago between two of South Asia's biggest nations is about to run out. And this isn't about borders or trade. No, this is about the flow of the mighty Ganga River itself. Today, we're diving into why this deadline could completely redefine the relationship between India and Bangladesh for years to come.
Yeah, you're going to want to circle this here on your calendar. 2026. It is really shaping up to be one of the most important years for India and its neighbors. It's a moment where these huge, long-standing agreements are coming up for review, and that could change the dynamics of the entire region.
So what's the big deal? Why is this 1 year a potential flashpoint for two countries that share so much history? Well, the answer isn't really about politics in the way you might think. It's found in the powerful current of a shared, life-giving river.
What's driving all this urgency is a deadline. A foundational water-sharing treaty, one that's been in place for 30 years, is about to expire. And that's forcing some very tough but absolutely necessary conversations about what happens next.
So, back in 1996, they signed this thing called the Ganga Water Treaty. And they were smart about it. They built in a 30-year lifespan on purpose. Well, in 2026, that clock finally runs out. And even though everyone knew it was coming, there's a real sense of nervousness in the air, especially for Bangladesh, which is downstream.
At its heart, this treaty is basically the rulebook for how to share the Ganga's water. Now, with the expiration date getting closer and closer, it's actually Bangladesh that has really kicked things into gear, insisting they start these tough negotiations now to secure their water future.
And here's a quick but really important detail you should know. While we call it the Ganga in India, the second that river crosses the border into Bangladesh, it's known as the Padma. It's two different names for the exact same single, vital source of water. Okay, so how has this deal actually worked for the past 3 decades? I mean, how in the world do you divide the water of a massive river that's always changing? It all comes down to one specific spot and a surprisingly simple formula.
Everything, and I mean everything, hinges on this one location, the Farakka Barrage in India. It's right before the river crosses into Bangladesh. You can think of it as the official measuring stick. The entire treaty is based on how much water is flowing past this exact point during the critical dry season.
Now, this is where you see the math behind the diplomacy. During the dry season, which is from January 1st to May 31st, if the flow at Farakka is pretty good, between 70 and 75,000 cusecs, that's cubic feet per second, it's a simple 50-50 split. But if the flow drops below 70,000, the formula changes. India gets a guaranteed 40,000 cusecs, and Bangladesh gets whatever is left over.
But, and this is a huge but, there's a critical safety net built right into the treaty. Bangladesh is guaranteed a minimum flow of 35,000 cusecs, even when the river's flow is extremely low. This single guarantee, this one number, has really been the glue holding this whole deal together for 30 years.
So that's a treaty as it has existed. But, the world in 2026 is a completely different beast than it was in 1996. So let's look at the incredible pressures both countries are facing now, which makes renegotiating all of this so incredibly complicated. First off, just look at the sheer difference in scale here. We're talking about India with a population of over 1.4 billion compared to Bangladesh with about 170 million. You can immediately see how that fundamental demographic gap totally shapes how each country views what a fair share of water really is.
And that leads to two very different but equally urgent challenges. For India, the #1 pressure is meeting the water needs of that massive population. But for Bangladesh, a low-lying delta nation, this water is absolutely essential for its agriculture, its environment, really, for its national survival.
And if that wasn't complicated enough, now you've got to throw in all these new pressures that they didn't really have to worry about back in '96. We're seeing more intense heat waves, which means more water is just evaporating. Water demand for cities and industries is exploding in both countries. And to top it all off, Bangladesh has been pretty clear that it wants a bigger slice of the pie in any new treaty.
So, with all that on the table, where does this leave us? The deadline is closing in, the stakes are higher than they've ever been. What does the future of this vital negotiation actually look like?
And let's be clear, this isn't some far-off problem for the future. Nope. The really tough, difficult conversations are happening right now. Behind closed doors, diplomats and water experts are already at the negotiating table trying to figure this out before the clock officially runs out.
At the end of the day, it all boils down to one thing: trust.
For any new deal to work, both sides have to offer some powerful mutual assurances. What can India guarantee? What compromises is Bangladesh willing to make? Building a new treaty is going to take more than just clever diplomacy. It's going to require a truly shared vision for the river.
And that brings us to the final, huge question that hangs over all of this. In a world with climate change and growing populations, water is becoming more and more scarce. So, when you have a resource that is finite, that is shared between nations, can diplomacy alone really build a future that's sustainable for everyone? We're going to find out come 2026.